Hi, Thomas Spencer here, giving you my climate change and humans. How are we impacted? How are we impacted? How climate change will affect people or humans. Climate change will affect people through water sources. Flooding is an increasing issue as our climate is changing. Compared to the beginning of the 20th century, there are both stronger and more frequent heavy precipitation events across most of the continental United States. Drought also becoming more common, particularly in western United States. Also, humans are now using more water, especially for agriculture, much like when we sweat more when it's hot out. Higher air temperatures causes plants to lose or transpire more water, meaning farmers must give them more water to stay alive. These both highlight the need for more water in places where supplies are dwindling. In the colder regions, you have the snowpacks, which is an important source of fresh water for many people. As these snows melt, fresh water becomes available for use, especially in regions like the western United States, where there is not much precipitation in warmer months. But as these temperatures warm, there is less snow overall, and more snow begins to melt earlier in the year, meaning these snowpacks may not be a reliable source of water for the entire warm and the dry seasons. The second example is food. With the increased temperatures, the drought and water stress, and mixed with the weather extremes, create many challenges for the farmers, ranchers who put food on our tables. Also, the farmers, ranchers, their workers can suffer from heat-related health issues or are more likely to be affected by exhaustion, heat stroke, heart attacks. Also, rising temperatures and heat stress can also harm the livestock. Human health is my third example. Climate change is already impacting human health as changes in the weather and climate patterns put lives at risk. Heat is one of the deadliest weather phenomena. As ocean temperatures rise, hurricanes are getting stronger, which can cause direct and indirect deaths. Higher incidence of flooding can also lead to spread of waterborne diseases, injuries, and chemical hazards. The drying conditions lead to more wildfires, which bring many health risks. The most vulnerable groups being children, elderly, people with pre-existing health conditions, people that work outside, and people with low income are at higher risk because of compounding factors from climate change. How the climate change is affecting national economies. I gave for my outside of the United States, Asia 2020, weather and climate extremes. In the 2020 Asia, floods and storms affected approximately 50 million people in Asia and resulted in more than 5,000 fatalities and displaced millions of people throughout China, Bangladesh, India, Japan, Pakistan, Nepal, and Vietnam. Also, they experienced one of the largest or strongest cyclones ever recorded that hit the Sundarbans, affecting both India and Bangladesh, displacing another 2.4 million in India and 2.5 million in Bangladesh. My second example is the Nebraska 2019 floods. These floods that hit Nebraska in 2019 resulted in many fields being washed away. and livestock being drowned. The cost to Nebraska alone was $440 million worth of cattle, and in Iowa they lost an additional $1.6 billion, both in livestock and cattle that same year due to flooding. My third example is the Texas 2017 Hurricane Harvey. In 2017, Texas estimated losses from Hurricane Harvey were at 125 billion. And then while it's not yet possible to directly link climate change to hurricanes, the warmer temperatures and higher sea levels are directly affecting and enhancing the storm's intensity and destructiveness. How climate change will and is affecting the global economy. I have for my examples agriculture, infrastructure, and business and financial market as my 3 examples. Agriculture, this sector is the most vulnerable to climate risk. There are reports suggesting that for every degree Celsius the global temperature, the thermostat rises, there will be 5 to 15% decrease in overall crop production. And many commodity crops such as corn, soybean, wheat, rice, cotton, and oats don't thrive and don't grow well above certain temperature thresholds, not only in the United States but worldwide. In addition, crops will be affected by less availability of water, groundwater, increased pests and weeds, more fire risk. Also, as farmers struggle to stay afloat by finding ways to adapt to these extreme climate conditions, the price of agriculture products will likely increase, and this increase will be passed along again to consumers. My second example is infrastructure. Much of our society and the world's critical infrastructure is at risk from flooding, especially any places close to any ocean, sea, or even waterways that are attached to rivers and sea, because the sea level rise could potentially cause a loss of value of assets in the trillions of dollars, probably anywhere from $2 to $5 trillion by the end of the century, says environmental economist Jeffrey Heel. He's a professor in the Columbia Business School. These losses from damage to anywhere from housing, damage to airports on the coast, damage to docks, to railway lines that run up and down the East Coast that are all within a few feet of sea level. Also damage to I-95, which runs along the coast of the United States. This is just the East Coast of the United States. So if you take a global perspective, this is repeated around the world. Much of this infrastructure will need to be repaired or replaced. My third example is for businesses and financial market. The climate change and its impacts across the globe threaten the bottom line of business in a variety of ways. One being the frequency and intensity of extreme weather, both in the US and globally. These can lead to damage to factories, supply chain operations, and other infrastructure, and also disrupt transport. Droughts will make water more expensive, which will likely affect the cost of raw materials and the production. Climate volatility may force companies to deal with uncertainty in the price of resources for production, energy transport, and insurance. And even some products could become obsolete, i.e., places like tourism attractions like skiing. If an area no longer has snow, it loses that tourism attraction. Also, same with the fish market. Fisheries could be, if they lose the water supply due to drought, they no longer are you getting that income from tourism. This concludes my presentation. Thank you. Bye.